Two-time Tony Award-winning play Natasha, Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. It's premiering now in San Diego at the Signet Theater.
Yeah, the play described as an innovative electro-pop opera based on part of a Leo Tolstoy story we all know as a War and Peace. The 1,400-page story that is. Only 70 pages really are the focus of this musical. So joining us now to talk about the play, Selena Ceja, who plays Natasha, and Norby, who plays Pierre. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk. I first want to talk about the delay. Right, this is the West Coast premiere of this, right? It's a Tony Award-winning musical. Talk to us about why this was delayed as long as it was to come here.
Oh, that's a great question. So yeah, I was cast 2.5 years ago. And so finally being able to do this has been an incredible gift. It's such a beautiful show. And I think just now was the right time to do it. You know, War and Peace is such an incredible, basically like an origin of like soap opera stories. You know, it's epic, there's so much behind it, and there's a lot of love and romance, so it's a perfect time for that.
We'll talk a little bit about how you're able to tell that story, you know, as a play. How are you able to do that as a musical, as a play?
I think, honestly, a lot of it is our sheer willpower to push through it, because it is so much doing this show. We have actors playing instruments. We are all ourselves the leads and the ensembles, so we are wearing multiple hats throughout the entirety of the show. And so a lot of it, besides our research and our dedication to our characters, is just us fully enveloping ourselves in this story and connecting with our audience and with one another on stage.
Yeah, because I was reading that when this originated, it was off-Broadway, 10 people on stage, and then it became 80 people on stage. Became a Tony Award winner, right? And now we're back to 10 here with the local production. How can you do a musical that was 10, was 80, is 10? How does that work?
I mean, I think that it should be 10. You know, I think it was originally that way, and the reason that they made it so much larger is because Broadway is physically bigger, and so you need more people to fill out the space, fill out the energy. But really, in our intimate theater, it's perfect because 10 people is really the most that you want to have on the stage. And we're all really good friends. That's what's so wonderful about it.
You know, I think when you're performing, it's always good to actually like the person you're sitting working with each and every day. Does that take time to actually develop that kind of, I guess, you know, chemistry between all of you?
I think yes and no. I feel like, especially for me in court, I can say like right off bat, I was like, wow, I love him. This is so much fun. It's a nice, safe space, especially when you're working with tons of professionals who have been in this specific theater, like for many shows that they've done. I know for myself, it was my first time it's my first time being at this theater, working with pretty much everybody in the cast. And I came in and felt immediately welcomed and safe. And that's really a testament, I think, to this theater, but also to all the people in this show. They're so welcoming and they're so kind.
We were all blown away by her immediately. We were like, where are you?
So for those who don't know, tell us what it's about. Okay, we're talking about, you know, War and Peace is, you know, 19th century. It's like the longest book, you know, anybody has ever considered reading
or haven't read.
Right. This is just like a small piece of that is really highlighted. So tell us what it's all about and what people expect as far as the immersive experience too with this musical.
Well, as far as my character goes, there's basically two storylines going on. There's the story of Pierre, who is a really disillusioned man who's having an existential crisis. He's in an unhappy marriage, and he wants to be fighting off in the war, but he's not the kind of man who would go do that, but he wants to. And so at the end, he and Natasha come together, and Natasha has her storyline.
Yeah, and for my storyline, it really follows the naivete of a young girl who is like new to this world outside of the countryside. She's coming into this regal environment, and she is waiting for her betrothed to come back from the war, and she kind of gets a little lost when she meets Anatole, who is kind of our show's villain, right? And she has her own little cross adventure as she's going through understanding what it means to be in love with anyone at such a young age, right? It's something very new to her, and she kind of ends up going through a lot of the rocky points in life that you go through when you've never fallen in love before. And she kind of falls out with her family getting closer to the end, and we have our connection with Pierre, who really helps restore her faith in living and in love.
Yeah, and I think overall this story truly is about love and realizing that through war and through peace, we're all children. We're all just children that want to love and want to be loved. So that's really what I think it's all about.
All just human. I mean, that's how it goes. Give us the details, because everybody out there who wants to go see it, need to figure out exactly when and where.
Yeah.
Well, so it's at Signet Theater, which is in Old Town, and we run through, we've been extended through May 19th. We haven't even opened yet. We've been extended, which is very exciting.
Cool.
Yeah. And you can buy tickets at the box office or online.
So the setting is it Russia?
Russia.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So my understanding when I was first reading about this was that part of the Russian Ukrainian war happened right as this was supposed to come here to the West Coast. Did that, how does that factor into, obviously what's going on in the real world today versus the storyline from a couple centuries ago?
Yeah, well, and I think that goes back to one of the first questions you asked about Signet being very sensitive about the situation that was happening and holding the show so as to be respectful of that crisis that was happening.
Yeah, it'd be tough to release this right as a war is starting around this country.
And it does have a lot to do,
Too soon.
It has a lot to do with the war happening in the story as well, but fortunately it doesn't revolve specifically around that. It kind of revolves around these people who are almost aloof to the situation of a war happening out in the world. There's a literal line where they're like, the war can't touch us here, and there's that kind of sense of disillusion that this group of people is experiencing. But I fortunately think this has so much more to do with the concept of love and kind of loving others unconditionally through forgiveness, through pain, that it almost overshadows that unfortunate situation because it has really nothing to do too much with the actual Russian population, right? It is Leo Tolstoy, and so it does have everything to do with his piece of work, but not too much with the culture and with the people, I would say, directly.
It's on the periphery.
Yes, it just has a lot of inspiration from it, and while we are playing people in the Russian environment, it doesn't totally focus so much on that, and more so on these people who are going through a very understanding story.
Something that everybody can relate to.
Yes.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for being here, Court and Selena. We appreciate it. Best of luck. Break a leg. I guess the proper way to say that. We have more information on our website for everybody at home who's interested in seeing you guys on the stage and getting up close and personal with you guys as well. Fox5sandiego.com under the Scene On tab at the top of the page. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Wonderful.